My junior year at college, I spent a semester in Chile studying with a member of the post-Pinochet era Truth and Reconciliation Commission. One day, while I was out exploring Santiago, I stumbled upon a storefront that for some reason caught my eye. It was nondescript on the outside, but I could see a group of women inside and colorful slogans on the wall. Curious, I opened the door. The collective of women were seated at tables covered with scraps of fabric, burlap, and other simple materials, including cloth from their loved ones' clothing. I learned that they were survivors of hardship and violence, and everyone had lost at least one family member to the forced disappearances during the military dictatorship. These women had come together to heal as a group and to create arpilleras, which are these little woven tapestries with scenes and symbols. Some depicted those who had been kidnapped and killed, while others tell stories of their families, their homes, and their country. With few resources available to them, they wove these patchwork, colorful scenes together with imagination and heart. And every arpillera expresses a personal, political theme, cleverly denouncing the human rights abuses their creators experienced. And finally, each woman who made an arpillera would sign her work on a piece of paper that was then placed in a tiny pocket sewn into the back. The women then sold them out of the store and on street corners and in markets and fairs, and they proved to be a vital source of income and expression for them during the country's recovery from that traumatic era. I sensed the power of these women coming together to create these tapestries. Stripped of their rights and with global help slow to respond, they found an imaginative way to protest injustices and reclaim their history and their lives. At the time, the term social enterprise wasn't yet widely used, but I could see that there was an empowering dignity in what these women were doing. When it was time for me to head back to the US, I stopped by the collective and asked if there was anything I could do. Absolutamente, they said, and immediately began to stuff a bag full of arpilleras to take back with me to sell for them. No contracts, no deposits, just send us what you can. So back at college, I made a plan to try to sell the arpilleras. Now, this was pre-social media, so all I had were a few flyers I had printed, the tapestries themselves, and some friends willing to help out. Early on a weekend morning, we set up a table at the center of campus at what we call Red Square at Georgetown. There was a good amount of foot traffic, and people started to stop by, read the brochures, and ask questions. As we explained the story behind the arpilleras and the women who created them, they began to consider the arpilleras in a new way. What they might have easily dismissed as novelty items, they now recognized as valuable political art. Within the day, I was completely sold out. And I realized right then and there the meaningful impact that story can have on commerce. The tiny arpilleras, made of scraps and with no practical function, were not an obvious choice for an art collection. But as the story behind them was revealed, people were motivated, touched, and inspired to support these women. Yes, they were just a bunch of tiny threads and pieces of fabric, but woven together by the hands of these survivors. They told a story of what it means to be human, connected, courageous, lost, and found again. And that translated into a pretty substantial check I soon mailed back to the collective with pride. So just what is social enterprise? It's an evolving idea with a number of suggested definitions, but I define it as any organization utilizing market-based strategies that works to make the world a better place and to solve problems through commerce. And a social entrepreneur is anyone, I repeat, anyone using business tools and strategies to solve social problems. Social enterprises include cause-driven businesses looking to improve a particular social condition, or ethically focused enterprises with sustainability models. They are microlenders, helping people climb out of poverty, like Kiva or Grameen Bank. They are my friends at Maya Traditions, connecting women entrepreneurs and artisans to national and international markets to improve their quality of life and preserve their cultural heritage. They can be businesses like Groundswell, which promotes responsible consumerism and civic consumption, or Swipe for the Homeless, or Divine Chocolate, or the Downtown Women's Center of LA, or Solar Sister, which brings clean energy technology to communities in rural Africa. They can uplift whole communities and even countries, like in Myanmar, where lack of infrastructure and repressive rule have suppressed the populace for so long, but where organizations like Proximity Designs are using business models to help farmers increase their incomes and pull themselves out of poverty. Some of the best social entrepreneurs, hungry for change and better answers, find their calling from their desire to solve the problems they see directly in front of them. When you don't have the capital or laws or infrastructure on your side, you get creative and innovative. You have to. Social enterprise, sustainable and ethical business, and entrepreneurship can happen at any organization, large or small, from those aspiring to B Corp status to small artisan groups. It is any entity or any individual who strives to solve unmet needs and social problems, to merge what we want with what we need. It's Patagonia embedding social impact into its clothing through its environmental initiatives. It's Falling Whistles, campaigning to end conflict in the Congo by selling whistles so we can all become whistleblowers for peace. Social enterprises are not handouts. They are entrepreneurial solutions to raise up people and communities and improve lives through commerce, allowing people to build their futures and make choices about their lives on their own terms. And they all start with an idea. After college, I went on to become an international human rights lawyer. I worked at the United Nations, the US federal government, and with other international organizations. I traveled the world listening to people tell their stories. And what I learned from that work is that people in need know what they want. They just need agency, access, and opportunity. Everyone prefers to make their own choices about their lives. And so, a few years ago, I had my own idea. And inspired by the women I had met years before in Chile, Milena was born. Milena is an e-commerce platform and global community that connects people with artisans around the world so that we can design, curate, and sell the goods they create. Milena's mission is to empower these groups and individuals through growing their commercial enterprises, giving them an opportunity to learn skills, find a market for their goods, and most of all, to tell their stories. My simple business plan was based on the principle that what people in need truly want over the long term is agency and autonomy. To open bank accounts in businesses, to express themselves, to go to school, to build their futures on their own terms. Simple and profoundly important issues many of us can take for granted. And so, with little prior experience, capital, or staffing, I taught myself how to design, build, launch, and market a social enterprise. In times of war and other crises, charity and aid are literally life-saving. But beyond essential aid, the best way to help people who need to rebuild lives is to use commercial solutions and market-based strategies to help them gain sustainable incomes and become economically independent. This is Florida and her family. Florida is a woman I work with as part of a collaboration with Azizi Life in Muhanga, Rwanda. The Azizi Life artisans came together after the genocide in their country to create beautiful art as part of a business collective. They receive fair wages for fair work, design training, and they recently also started an adult literacy program, an excellent example of a successful social enterprise. My work with Milena has been incredibly rewarding. And I mention it not only to promote and celebrate these wonderful artisans and entrepreneurs, my friends, but also to demonstrate how just one person with modest resources but a strong desire to empower others can join the movement. Empowering people and investing in them, particularly women, is crucial to our collective well-being. Women are critically important to social enterprise and social activism, and we support gender equality when we support social enterprise. Studies empirically show that women reinvest 90% of their incomes back into their families, communities, education, and health. Investing in women and girls unquestionably creates positive long-term economic and social prosperity for individuals, families, communities, and the world. And if I could only work on one aspect of social enterprise for the rest of my life, it'd be promoting the benefits of educating girls and women around the world, because the ripple effects are innumerable. We can all be social entrepreneurs in many ways. You can support a local startup or any company trying to do good through purchasing their products, or you can advocate by writing letters or sharing social media posts. You can join the ethical fashion revolution by asking brands and companies who made your clothes and how well are the makers, the animals, and the environment treated in the process. If you're employed by a large corporation, you can become a social entrepreneur by asking your boss if your team can support a social impact project, or if there are more sustainable and accessible ways of conducting business. We all become social activists when we support businesses and organizations adhering to ethical principles. We vote with our actions every day. Every dollar we spend, everything we eat, everything we consume. Ask, where does it come from? How and by whom was this product made? Who and what does it impact? What is the cost, the human cost, the environmental cost? A promising study shows that 60% of millennials are willing to pay more to support a company that has positive social impact. Operating your business in a socially positive way fosters goodwill and generates devoted customers. And social media can now help provide accountability and transparency across commerce platforms. The bottom line is, socially responsible practices are good for business. Supply always meets demand, and consumers ultimately hold the power. We have to ask for this, demand this, and when we do, CEOs and their boards will respond. While we do the difficult and long-term work of building economies, political institutions, and legal and policy systems that support equality, we can also, day by day, break down entry barriers to markets, helping people amplify their voices and their stories. Social enterprise is a way of adding doors where there were none. Ethical business is a way of making capitalism work for all, not just the few. It's saying that economics and ethics, profit and purpose can and should go together. It's creating something that should be in the world but isn't, yet. We are all part of something greater than ourselves, and reaching for that greatness is what uplifts us all. My friends to this day remind me how much they love their arpilleras and how much the women's story affected them. Your life is your message to the world. Each moment is another thread of your story. Every dollar you spend, every action you take, every email to a friend about a new social enterprise. There is no better or lesser way to make a difference. There are only moments, decisions made every day, tiny bits of fabric, each of us with our own sewing needles, stitching together the tapestry of our lives. So, what is the story you want to tell the world? What will your arpillera say? Thank you.